Would you date somebody who's just not into voting? Let's get into it. Hi everyone, I'm Daphney and I own a company called Fern Connections, and y'all know this is Roman. So I just want to jump into this topic because y'all know we're in this political season right now. Voting has started across the country in the U.S. And you know, voting doesn't always just impact us in the U.S. It also impacts people across the world. So everybody is watching. Let me say that people are watching to see what's going to happen. But I want to know, would you date someone who doesn't see voting as important? It's like, you know, it doesn't impact me. I'm not affected by it, so it doesn't matter if I vote or not. Or maybe I live in a state like I live in a state, Texas, where it doesn't seem like it matters who you vote for because, the same folks are going to, win every time. So I don't necessarily believe that. I believe that, things can change, right? So the more we go out to vote for the people that we feel are the best for our country, right? The best that focuses on the things that are important to us, right? Then I think the more we go out and vote, the better off we are, because you never know what's going to happen. And, at any given time, things could switch, right? And so let me just say this, because when I was younger, I didn't think voting was important. I thought, who cares? I don't care. People gonna do whatever they want to do. It doesn't really matter to me. It doesn't really affect who I am and what I need to do. Now, as I got older, right, I started voting, right? And I started voting for people based on their policies, right? The things that they said they would or wouldn't do, honey, and y'all know half of that stuff is not even true, right? But they say it anyway because it sounds good. And then there are those people who I truly believe that want to make a difference in the world, in the country, in the lives of those people, in the country, right? And so I really do believe that there are some politicians, I'm just gonna say this because y'all can call me crazy if you want to, I believe there's some politicians and some people out there who just want, the best for everybody, or at least most people, right? And so that's why they're in politics. And then y'all know there's these other folks, honey, that I don't even know why they're in politics, right? Other than maybe it serves them well and it's all about them. And if I can change things that work best for me, let me do it. But I'm just going to say, so to me, I'm on the fence about, dating someone who doesn't vote or doesn't believe in voting. And I think sometimes people just don't understand the impact of when you don't vote, right? Or how you vote. And I think the other thing that people have to be very aware of is you yourself have to put in the work, do the research, know stuff for yourself, right? Don't just listen to what everybody else is saying. Go do the research yourself, for the stuff that's important to you, that impacts you, whatever that is, right? And so that way you can make a better informed decision. But let me just say this, because my question was, would you date someone who doesn't see voting seriously, who doesn't care to vote, who doesn't think that their vote counts? And for me personally, I have to date someone who votes, right? Now, I believe that, people can live their lives the way they want to. So how you vote, to me doesn't necessarily determine who you are as a whole person. Because you could vote, Republican based on some things. It doesn't mean that you agree with everything in the Republican Party. Or the same thing when it comes to Democrats. I think that you have to kind of do what we call the 80-20 rule or the 90-10 rule, right? And try to get the best of what you're looking for. But the one thing that I would say is that thought process, that concept of, my vote doesn't count. It doesn't matter because I live in Texas. It doesn't matter how I vote because, the end result is going to be the end result, right? I don't like that mentality. And I don't agree with that mentality. And I think even if we don't vote the same way for the same things and same people, at least let your voice be heard, right? Let your, vote count for whatever that is, right? And not just sitting back and seeing, waiting to see what's going to happen. So I guess I'm answering my own question, right? I would date someone who votes, right? Even if that person voted differently from me based on their beliefs and what they're looking for their life, right? And their life goals, right? I just think it's very important to let your voice be heard. And I think it's important that, we not just sit back and wait and see what's going to happen. And I guess for me personally, I wouldn't date someone who's the kind who just wants to sit back and wait and see what happens. And I think that to me is the more important question, not just because they vote, or is because they're not sitting back waiting for stuff to happen, right? They're making things happen. They're letting their voice be heard. And I think that's the better and the bigger question, is that not whether or not you would date someone who votes, but someone who takes their own voice seriously enough to want to vote. So I'm just gonna wrap this up and do a quick recap. Yes, I personally need to date someone who takes the initiative, who wants their voice to be heard, right? And I know everybody is different, but I think to me, going back to my original question, would you date someone who doesn't take voting seriously? I would have to say no to that personally, but I would also say that the bigger question is, why are you sitting back waiting for things to happen?